Anyway, all right. So this is cybersecurity and you, and the idea is just to kind of help get our heads wrapped around cybersecurity and how much we have to be thinking about it all the time. Is that already started, right? Yep. Okay. Good. Okay. And but it's not only just with your business side, but it's also your personal side as well. And when you get into cyber hygiene, do we have a pointer? I don't remember. No, that's okay. That's okay. Cyber hygiene is what we talk about with it's a daily thing. You want to be thinking about your cybersecurity, like you're brushing your teeth. Same thing with your brushing your teeth. At least I don't know about the rest of you. I think about brushing my teeth every day, right? So that's where we want to be able to do our business walk, but also be able to brush our teeth all at the same time and be secure and so forth. So, all right. So, main thing, these three different topics: awareness, which is really, not only about what's out there and all that, but also really the need for cybersecurity. Then talk about defense in depth, somewhat in depth, and then cyber hygiene, which is again the daily activities. That's interesting. If you should be getting, I don't know, did they send a link yet? They might wait until after the conference. They might have a link where you can download the slides and that, all the presentation. Not yet, probably not yet. So the reason I mention that, it's at the end of all my presentations, I have a lot of links for further study, further reading and that. So, and if you don't get it, I don't have a slide about me. You can email me, and then I'll send you the latest slides too. So, all right. So we're going to have a pop quiz just to start out. Are you ready? I don't know if everybody knows who I am. Most of y'all do. I've been with KMC. My name's Dave. I've been with KMC for 18 years now. And this is my 40th year as an engineer. So in my previous life, I've been a defense guy, weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff, helped design that, and that's kind of a lot of fun. And thank you. And then I was into consumer electronics part of that for about a year and a half. I was a Disney Imagineer, and that was right before I started working for KMC. Just for FYI, the mouse is kind of frugal when it comes to salaries. So they make it a big thing. Oh yeah, you can come work for the mouse and all that stuff, but then it's like, yeah, but we're not going to pay you enough to even live out in California. Good thing we already had lived out there before. But anyway, so about the same time I had Disney gave us an offer to live out there. That's also when KMC gave me their offer, and some of the guys knew us. And the kids were all real young, and they all wanted to move out there and play with the mouse, but I don't know. Anyway, so like I said, I've been with KMC for 18 years. Started with their validation department, and then I managed tech support, and now I'm just VP of technology, and who knows what that means. I don't know. Just do things, I guess. All right. Question number one. So these questions are kind of geared for, it kind of gets you thinking about what you might need to do as far as your business goes for cybersecurity, and whether or not you can answer them. Do you have a security team for your business? Yeah? No? Yes? Maybe? Anybody want to, we should grade things. Oh, my night job, I teach at our community college, so I'm in the habit of asking for grades and feedback. So if you have any questions or comments while we do this, go ahead and, you don't have to wait to the end. So I want to make sure we do that. All right, so do you have a cybersecurity team? And do you know who to contact in your company if you find that you've been hacked or your computer is infected? You know what to do about it, right? A lot of companies, they don't really have a person set aside for that. And then have you ever found a virus or a Trojan on your computer or at work, the computer there? I had That's a long story. Pardon?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I had bought a computer once. I mean, our home computer had a lightning strike. I had to go and buy a Ethernet NIC card and got that at Best Buy, put that in, and the driver had a virus. As soon as I put in the driver, and then when you opened up the web pages, all this porn came out. And of course, I put it in. I don't test it. I mean, I test it just to see if I got on the internet. And then my 10-year-old daughter, she's the one that goes first. And it's like, oh my gosh. Anyway, that's a supply chain failure. We'll get to that later. All right. And do you know how to tell if your computer has been hacked or not? I don't know what's that. And that's sometimes not always so easy to tell, right? True or false, if you format your hard drive or erase all your files, the information is permanently lost? Nope. Nope. Pardon?
A DeWalt drill through the middle of the hard drive.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got to take a hammer. Yes?
I get a lot of pop-ups on my PC, and I get real tired of them, so I just click OK to everything.
Out. Out. All right, let's see here. Number 6, how secure do you feel your computer is? Yeah, you should always, I don't know. Is the firewall on your computer enabled? Now, I actually had to think about this about a month ago. I was trying to set up a VPN account with somebody, and it's like, oh, I had to be able to prove it. I mean, I knew it was on, but I had to be able to prove it. And then that took some doing, which meant I kind of didn't really know it was on, right? That was bad on me. Is your computer configured to be automatically updated? Right? Yeah, see, yeah, sometimes, some things not necessarily. And are you careful when you open up email attachment? What is that? Hitting OK with everything? Yeah, right. Okay. And antivirus currently installed?
More creative now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're just.
I'm getting emails that's like, oh yeah, this job you did, and here's some information and stuff like that, and it looks and everything, and it's like, no.
Yeah, they are. They're getting smarter and smarter. Has your boss or anyone asked you for a password? And not just in an email, but on your phone. You get a text message from your boss, can you hurry up and do that? I've been getting that from Richard for years now. It's like, no, I know you're not Richard. And then, do you trust strangers who smoke cigars? Everybody knows that joke there. If you want anything, any nice TLC from KMC, give me a cigar and it'll be done, right? That's my reward, right? But the cigar has to come first, not the work. No. Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. All right. So really, awareness is about who do you really trust? Do you trust the clown over there or the two clowns over there or whatever? In other words, you can kind of trust people, IT and whoever's been assigned to do it, but you really need to be able to do it, a lot of it yourself as well, because you just can't, they can't do everything. And a lot of what happens in breaches and all that really comes from the individuals not doing something. So, okay, so defense in depth. So it's not DOD, Department of Defense, but it's DID. Did you secure this part of whatever it is, whether it's your laptop, whether it's your home, whether it's your VPN, whether it's your network, whether it's your server, whether it's your thinking and that, right? One thing that's surprising, I guess, is large companies with huge cyber budgets still experience breaches because there's some weak door someplace. And a lot of that now, the statistics go up. We'll talk about social engineering in a minute. 98% of successful breaches come from social engineering attacks. It used to only be like 80%, and every year it just keeps growing. Part of that is, I think, because what the IT departments do to protect their servers and all that, it's working. So now the only way they have in is by tricking us through social engineering stuff. Okay, and then we'll talk about some cases and points of why you need defense in depth and where you're going to do that. So one's the target breach. You remember the target breach from 2013, and yep. And then why cigars are not good for you. I will never admit that, but there's a way that cigars can be bad for you in a cybersecurity way, and you can never trust your boss, and you definitely cannot trust HR. And no one in HR is here, right? Right? Yeah, you cannot trust HR, and it's not them. It's one of those attacks or one of those vulnerabilities that you just don't think about, and bad things happen. Okay, so what's wrong with this defense? They built a fence, forgot to build, no, they didn't build a fence, they built a gate, forgot to build the fence, everybody just went around it, right? Okay, so when we think about defense in depth, you want to think about what it is that you're defending and where and so forth. So there's physical risks. You have your building access, you have the plant, the factory access, you have vehicles. I mean, people can be out there in the parking lot just grabbing things as well, right? I worked for one place, not KMC. We had a engineering, it was more of an engineering firm, and someone just walked in from the street, from the back door, and he literally just walked all the way through up to the front offices and all that, and we all literally just kind of watched him. And none of us challenged him at all. It's like, what in the world, what are we thinking? What's he doing there, Then, of course, there's information technology or IT kind of risks. You got your data. That's one of the big things. That's usually what we think about, right? Something with our data. PCs are vulnerable, of course, laptops, access, remote access, and that. Your cell phones are vulnerable. And it's not just, when you're in the office or at home, you go to the coffee shops, you go to the airport, and you go here. Did I tell you we're hacking right now? No. But you can do all sorts of, you're vulnerable in many places, even in your car, right? I think, who was it? Hummer? No, it was somebody else. Somebody had the codes for the Hummer, and Hummer was, I think it was Hummer, they had a built-in Bluetooth to be able to, turn it on and all that stuff. Well, none of it was encrypted. And so he can just drive around, find a Hummer, and start turning it on. He could actually steer it in some ways and that, and it was crazy. And then a few years back, somebody did kind of the same thing with some jet aircraft, commercial aircraft. All that stuff was unencrypted, and there was a port underneath everybody's seat to get to it, and you just got to it. So, okay, financial risks is not, a data breach, of course, just getting, to your financial records and all that, but also a credit card and PCI. PCI is the security consortium and that on standards for being able to handle credit card information securely. And if you handle credit card information, you're supposed to follow these rules, and there's different levels for that. There's enough out there now where you don't, as a company, you don't have to handle the credit card information. You can get a third party to do all that for you, and using their API. If you have like a website where you can buy things, right? You can hook up your website to their website, and then they take the credit card information and it never comes to you, and that's usually the best thing to do. So, and then finally, customer risk. This is getting more and more prevalent. I think PII stands for personally identifiable information, and personal privacy is coming more and more to the fore. And I've been to a couple security conferences, and a lot of this stuff is really kind of new of how we're thinking about it. And I asked some of the experts there, like with what we do, if you have motion sensors in the room, right? Does that count as PII? Because and one of the examples they had given was somebody had a class, and they had grades there were 30 people in the class, and and then somebody decided to do statistics on the class, and they said, well, the women scored, 100% or 75% or whatever it was, and the men averaged, about 60% or whatever. And there was a PII violation there because there was only one woman in the class. So as soon as you say, that woman, the women did it, now you identified a particular individual. So it's not just simply, a person's individual information. It's if you can combine information and still pick out a person, then that's also under PII. And each, we'll talk about each state has their own rules. Federal government doesn't really have any rules yet. Europe has rules and that, so it's kind of hodgepodge. But that's so like with occupancy sensors, for instance, if there's only one person in that room, and now you're keeping track of when they're in that room and when they're not, now that could become a PII issue, which means you have to be able to secure that information, be able to delete it in some countries if they want their privacy back and so forth. So it's just more things to think about. Okay, one-stop security. This is one of the case in points of the Target breach. This is my favorite breach. It's about everything that you don't want to do or everything that you should do that they didn't and that. And it also talks about our industry as well. So the way Target worked was they had a website for their vendors to log in order to do their, whatever the vendors did for them, like if they handled the HVAC or they handled the cleaning or whatever. But the vendor list was out in the open. So in other words, everybody that had access into that system, their credentials weren't in the open, but they were out in the open, at least who they were. So the bad guys went, and they were guys, they weren't gals. There were 2 Ukrainians and 1 Russian, and then they hired a teenager who wrote the code, and he only charged them $2,200, and that was it. And you can get it online, but FBI might come to your house if you do. But anyway, so now they had the list of all the vendors with Target. So then they started a phishing expedition where they sent out, emails trying to spam them, hoping somebody would click on something, right? I haven't seen an example of what that email was, but somebody with an HVAC company in Pennsylvania clicked on the link. And that's how HVAC got involved. They had nothing to do, the press usually gets technical things wrong. It had nothing at all to do with the HVAC system in Target. It had everything to do with an HVAC company not following good cyber hygiene, and they clicked on the wrong thing, and now they got a virus on their computer. They were using free malware bytes, a free version of malware bytes, thinking that they were secure with their antivirus, and it wasn't up to date and all that. So that virus got on there, got their credentials, sent it to the bad guys. They got into Target then through the vendor portal. And Target's bad thing, they did not have what we call defense in depth. They did not have firewalls and rules for their different departments or whatever. So all of Target was like one big flat infrastructure or internet. So then it was easy for them to go find the point of sales machines and find data servers where you can put stuff there. The point of sales machines, the credit card machines there, they all had default passwords, and that's bad. They were all running, I think they're all of them pretty much were running Windows 98, and so it meant it was an old machine, which meant the bad guys could go out and just buy one, find out what the default password was and all that, and then they could figure out how to hack into it and all that, and which is exactly what they did. And then they took their data from the credit card machine and put it on a server, and and their servers were not being protected. All that was all interconnected without any firewalls or access control lists, we call it, and and they just went away. And then they had what I call it sneaky exfiltration, I spell it, yeah, which meant they slowly trickled that data out. A lot of the IT tools to try to find out if somebody's hacked you and all that is they'll catch how much traffic's going outbound, and if there's a lot, well, that implies there's a bad player. Well, these guys just trickle it out, and then they don't notice it, and they were trickling for about 3 months before they finally got caught. which is actually what a normal statistic is. It takes somewhere between 4 and 6 months before you actually find out that you've been hacked and someone's getting your stuff. So, okay. So that was Target. Don't do that. And the really bad thing was Target had hired a company to check them out, and the company warned them 3 or 4 months before that they had problems, and they did not have defense in depth, which is got to have firewalls, got to have different credentials across their whole infrastructure between departments and all that. That's one of the things. Okay, so social engineering, y'all pretty much, you're kind of familiar with the term. I don't know, it doesn't mean what it kind of sounds like. I don't know why they picked social engineering. But it can be all sorts of different ways. So the whole idea is somebody's trying to trick you into giving them information that you have that they want without you knowing it, or you just trying to be helpful, or, right? One of the things about cigars, no smoking pals, is one of the tricks is if you have an area outside your company and that's where the smokers are allowed to go and all that, well, smokers are friendly people, right? And so if some stranger comes up, you start smoking with them, they start chatting and all that, guess what? Most of the time, when they come back in from break, they don't challenge the stranger. And so now he's in your building, he's got a thumb drive that's got his virus, he just finds some PC that's unattended, sticks his thumb drive in there, and off he goes, and now you're hacked. Different kinds of emails, or even phone calls or text messages, of course. A lot of it has, you gotta hurry up and do something, or else. Sometimes it's a positive or else, like, you won the lottery. Other times it's a negative or else, right? And that's kind of, if it's too good to be true, it usually is, right? But I really feel for, especially older folks, even older than me. I mean, they fall for this a lot, especially with, they get a text message or even a phone call. The IRS is out to get you and all that, and they just fall for it, poor things. There's gold in the dumpsters. That's another thing. You should make sure that you're shredding everything that goes out, and that, maybe even burning it in that. I mean, there's persistent hackers will go through your trash and find all sorts of things. And a lot of times what they're doing is they're not really necessarily trying to find passwords or anything, but they're just trying to find key information, like who works for which department or all that, and who's, maybe something about the structure that's there, the network structure, data structure. And the last one is HR. One of the relatively recent hacks is somebody's applying for a job, and they send a PDF, goes to HR, and there's a virus in the PDF. And it doesn't get caught by HR. So HR becomes a source of, there's where your virus is coming from.
I've been getting a lot of those lately from team members on my team where it's, hey, here's a fax, there's a PDF kind of fax thing, or reset your email password kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I had an employee call for that. They called me upset. I put it in 5 times, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then they just give all their information to this website that looks just like Microsoft.
Yeah, it looks, yep.
And it's just, and they're getting through the filters on our email. They're constantly battling which ones get through and which ones go to spam.
Yep.
And they fall through. One I got was like a PO for this job from a customer.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, your new PO's here, and I was waiting on it. And I didn't click on it because I was smart enough, because you can kind of tell. But
Yeah.
they're getting pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
on how they do that.
Yeah, sometimes I still have to pause because it looks real. It comes from Comcast or something I do business with, and at first, I mean, the way they word it now, they're even getting more sophisticated. They're not even trying to get you all excited or fearful. They're just, we just need you to update something, and it's like, but no.
No, he said, yeah,
Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
They're getting good at asking it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, for us, I think, that's one of the points here is, and I have another one with a cybersecurity plan, another session. That's trying to make sure not only us, but everybody in our company gets the basics down, right? And you just got to keep at it because they keep changing their tactics too. So, yeah. It's just crazy, crazy. If only we didn't have anything worthwhile of stealing, right? Then I don't know what it is. Okay. So here are some things, kind of talked a little bit about, with firewalls for defense in depth. These are different kinds of things that you do that would be tools that you use for your defense in depth. One of the defenses is, of course, your antivirus and all that on your PC. Don't use free malware bytes. You got to buy it. You get what you pay for, right? Keep it up to date and that. Another one is risk assessment, which is they're not really in any particular order. Risk assessment is where you go and you figure out where your risks are, and part of that is the fourth one there, having an inventory of everything that's connected to the internet in your building. And we started our inventory assessment like a year ago, and we're still not done because there's something sitting in a closet that's been there literally for 30 years, and it's still working, and it's a PC, and I don't know if somebody still uses it or what yet. But risk assessment then is really helping you understand what it is that you have that's important, and that's part of the inventory as well, but then also different ways that people can get into that. You have to kind of know how people can get at it in order to really make a good defense. That's the idea, right? Separation of equipment and duties, that's another thing is part of you want to, what I was kind of saying before, you want to put firewalls between different departments and all that, right? I don't want HR to be able to see what I'm doing, and they probably don't want me to see what they're doing, right? Or the financial people and all. So you want to have, different duties of who can see what data, who creates it, who can use it, and all that, and be good at that. Companies tend to be a little sloppy with that, and then you find out somebody finally, got fed up, and he's able to go through, and when he left, he was able to go through and just do all sorts of things with your files and that. So, let's see, up-to-date software. That's mainly, it's not just. I was going to say it's mainly Windows or Linux, but it's not just that, because even some of the applications that you have, there's vulnerabilities in there too. So you want to keep things up to date. Your browsers was a big thing. That's usually a lot of attacks come through the browsers and emails. So you want to make sure those are up to date. Access controls and lists. Access controls is again. Who has permission to create this data or look at this data or modify it, who can delete it, and it all depends on what that data is and how you separate out your servers, your folders and that. Firewalls everywhere. And then legal knowledge, part of that comes from, well, I shouldn't say part of it. You are legally responsible for some things you might not even know about, right? For instance, if you had a breach, how much time do you legally have before you have to report it to state police or some state agency? Pardon?
Didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, most of us don't. And it differs from state to state. That's one of the problems, one of the headaches of being in the United States is we are united states, and each state has their own rules, and there's not really a federal rules yet. Europe is different. They have what's called a GDPR, which stands for General Data Protection Rights, or if I remember right. And those are not really a set of rules, those are laws that the European states have to follow. And a lot of it deals with personal privacy and that. In California, they have what's called CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act, which came into being, I think about 2 years ago. Everything's kind of gone blank for me before COVID. I don't remember exactly when. And that meant if you somehow are doing business with a California citizen, you have to protect their privacy. And even if they don't, even if your business is not even in California, I don't know how they're going to come and get you or whatever, right? But so a lot of that's part of the GDPR and then the CCPA. That's why you go to websites and then you get a pop-up says we're going to collect these cookies and we're going to collect this information. That's part of the privacy laws, and they're still changing. The reason I mentioned California is more than likely the rest of the states are going to follow something similar to California, or GDPR, or both, or whatever. But each state is different, and like I said, with each state, some states are like 72 hours. If you have, once you find out you've been breached, you got 72 hours to report it, and then who knows what happens if you don't, right? It's interesting. But a lot of these, well, I shouldn't, not necessarily a lot of them, but it deals with people's privacy and then, of course, their credit card information or whatever, too, right? So. Okay, so defense starts and ends with each one of us, really. And I mentioned NICE. NICE is it shows up in my list at the end as well. NICE is a NIST, National, what does NIST stand for? National Instrumentation and Standards Technology, right? Something like that, right? So they're the ones. One of the things we'll mention here too, this is one of the rare occasions where the federal government really is doing their job and making things easier for us. They've got the Fed, yeah, I know, the Fed really has a number of good programs that are free to help you do your stuff, do your cybersecurity. NICE is part of that. NIST, what's called NIST CSF, which we'll get into in my cybersecurity plan class. That's a whole framework on how you do cybersecurity, and it's good stuff. Takes a bit of work, but it's still really good stuff. So this is not only what each of us should do, but we should help make sure that our colleagues in our business do that too. Be socially aware, right? Know what the ins and outs of our social engineering. Get your training, abide by the policies, right? And here's, it's easy for the C-level people or directors or all to go and tell IT, or just go out and buy your own laptop because I like this model. I'm going to bypass IT and all that stuff. Happens a lot. Don't do that. IT, if they find out, they should just take that laptop and just burn it, right? So you don't want to try to bypass the policies, because part of what we need to do, we have to work together in order to help fight against the bad guys. Passwords, keep them not only guarded, but you want to have good passwords, right? So the guy who created the idea of you got to have so many characters and so many letters and so many numbers and all that, he says, forget about all that. He says the problem is you can't remember it, and so you tend to write it down, right? So he said the big thing is just make it long. You can use words and all that, but just make it long, like 60 characters or whatever. Yeah, that's now I still don't do that. Right. It's more like a passphrase, right? And I still haven't done that yet, but it's not a bad idea. When you look at the hacker tools on how they can hack into passwords, the longer the better, because it just takes forever, right? Yep. Pardon?
The movies are right. They always make it when you're in the movie.
Yeah, Megalo. And then, of course, when you're remote, be on your guard. So it'll come in here. You know, don't trust. I wouldn't trust him for sure. Don't.
I spent all last night trying to hack people.
Yeah. Shoot.
I had a guy that we went into Intel to get our badges, and they came out when him and security guys word him out, so he was on the hacker list.
What?
Really?
Took him at Intel, and it's like, he's not allowed on this property.
Wow. Wow.
I was like, huh, what?
Wow. I wonder, how do you get on that? Okay, and then, but it's not, you know, one bad thing I do is whenever I'm traveling and I'm at an airport, I'll use the airport, right? I'll use the airport thing, but then, you know, I try not to, then I remember, oh, there might be somebody else out there, right? So I try not to go to regular, yeah, right, exactly. Don't go to my bank account or do anything like that. But I'll get into the VPN from work, right? So VPN's, you know, very good thing. At home now, I don't do anything at home where I need to get into it when I'm remote. But if you do, just, you know, certainly use a VPN even to get into your home network, right? So, and that's, again, these are just, and don't leave your home network router with the default password, right? Oh, that is a new law in California too, by the way. If you manufacture a product that's connectable to the internet, it has to have a unique default password, and you have to tell the new buyer they have to change it too. So, yeah, so we kind of lucked into that with Commander. Commander, the default password is the serial number. So that's a different default for each product. But but we don't yet force you to change it. You can, but we don't force you to change it yet. But I'm in a group with lawyers in California, and they talk to the Attorney General all the time, and this, you know, how's this really all going to come about or play out, I should say. And they say there's just so much out there. They're going to go after the big beans, you know, and that. But sooner or later, whenever they need more, they've taxed everybody and they need more money, right? They need more fines and that. Yeah, California. All right. Cyber hygiene basics. I like to use Crest. That's my favorite one. The idea is you want to be thinking about cyber in a way, well, even better than brushing your teeth, right? It needs to be a kind of a persistent thing. You got to know how to do it, and you can't trust. The whole trust part is you cannot trust somebody else to do it for you, right? You can trust them to be part of the team. Yeah, that's one thing, but there are still things that we each have to do. Okay, let's see. So these are different things. I think we've talked pretty much about these. The follow plans and procedures. That again is, you know, be a team player, and I usually don't like doing that, but this, you guys, some of you know, but it really helps in this case. There's just so much.
How many people in here have an RFID wallet? RFID
Oh,
is on
yeah,
cards,
right,
you know?
right,
You know? Yeah.
yeah,
I got hit so many times every year I flew home to see my parents and stuff. I go to New York, New Jersey, and yep, so my credit card would get hit, so I finally bought an RFID wallet, and, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, every time I went in, you know, they scan my credit cards, and that's all they do is walk around the airport. And they got the scanner in their pocket, and they walk by you, and it's like, they got
Yeah.
your information on your credit card and stuff.
Got a website that sells RFID.
yeah. You got to get those metal. My wife actually, she thought of it before me. She's very adverse computers, where she knows if she even touches a touch screen, it's going to blow up and that, and it does. It does for anyway. But she, you know, she started getting the new credit cards, and she bought a metal case for it, and it was, yeah, that's the thing to do. I still don't have one.
Every car I go in, by the time I ended my trip, I'd have to go buy gas for a rental car or whatever, and it's like my credit card would be rejected.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
The credit card company, like, got hacked again.
Yeah. Yeah, and they, what's that thing called? The little tab, the little doohickey thing in there. Yeah. When I was doing one of my cybersecurity training courses, that thing is easy to hack too. I mean, you just got to put 4 little pins, put a scope on it, power it up, and now you got your data. It's crazy. That was another thing with Bluetooth is another bad example of it's easier to hack into Bluetooth protocol and signals than it is other things too. And a lot of things are not encrypted. So I don't use Bluetooth mainly for that. But besides, every time I try to buy a Bluetooth device, it always broke in 3 months. But I just don't use Bluetooth. And then you can buy, you can buy little hacker Wi-Fi gadgets where it's just a little bitty, kind of like about a little box like that, and plug it in. Now you can hack into the Wi-Fi. One of the things with Wi-Fi is there's a tool out there that we use called Wireshark, right? Well, Wireshark doesn't usually go into promiscuous mode for Wi-Fi. It won't let you just see everybody's signal. Well, this little box does. And then you can go in and see everything and that. But anyway, then education and vigilance. Vigilance is the big thing, I think. You just got to keep getting trained and keep looking at it and keep being aware. With the school I teach at, every semester we go through the same cybersecurity training, and it's the basic training over and over and over. And it just helps to reinforce how important it is. Keep on your guard. How are we doing for time? Are we 20? Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, more than enough. Okay. All right. So social engineering. Let's see. And again, it's trying to trick you to get something out of you in that. And so a lot of times, like we were talking about, the who is, a lot of times they appear to be a trusted person or entity, right? Not Santa Claus, Actually, that guy, I didn't even have to pay him to sit on my lap. That's Santa Claus there. He liked it, which, maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. Anyway, or an authoritative source, right? Could be somebody pretending to be the IRS or the sheriff and all that, right? How does it get to you? Well, it's everything. Emails, websites, phones, texts. Oh yeah, lost USB drive. You don't want to pick up a strange USB drive out in the parking lot and plug it in, because even you're trying to be nice, trying to find whose it was, right? But it could be one with a virus, and not that I've ever done that before. But
They also say they're starting to skim the USB ports in public places, so don't ever use them to charge.
oh yeah,
Use the AC cube that comes with it, because data can't go over the AC cube.
oh yeah.
Just like ATM machines, where they're scanning the ports in the USB in the public side.
I didn't think of that, man. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Gee whiz. Okay, where? It really should be like everywhere. Conferences, too, of course, but in your room. And then when? Yeah, it's all the time, of course. And the thing is, I guess one thing that I tend to forget is my stuff might not be what the target is that they're trying to go after. They're trying to go after something else that maybe I'm related to or connected to, and I don't, I might be that weak link to get to it. Just like in the target breach. They weren't going after the HVAC, they were going after everything else, and the HVAC happened to be the weak link there, so. Okay. And then anti-malware and antivirus and that, of course, keep it up to date. A lot of people will get it, but then not turn things on. I don't know why they don't turn on. Well, there are some features, like when do you want to do a scan, right? Now, I'll turn off automatic scans, and I'm a bad boy when I do that. You know, you want to scan, let it scan at night and that, scan your files and that. So it'll do a good job whenever you see an email and that too, and pick that out. But if you don't let it scan for something else, because the viruses can be other places, they're not necessarily in your emails. They can be in files you might even already have in that. When I bought that, you know, that Ethernet NIC card for my home computer, and then it had the virus built into it, it was one of those ones where as soon as the computer turned on, the virus replicated itself and called it by a different name. And so that way, I found out, I could figure out what that name was, and then I could kill it, but it didn't kill the virus because it had changed its name from the boot up point. And so then I had to research and figure out, all right, what's the boot up name? And then I couldn't kill it. I couldn't delete it, which was really odd. But it did let me edit it. So all I did, I just put something in there that was something different, gave it the same name, and then that's how I got it to work in that. But anyway, just crazy stuff. But even the, let's see, malware bytes helped me find that one. So there, it worked okay. But again, you want something that's, you know, you get what you pay for, and turn on the features and let it do its thing. You want to be able to obviously check your emails and that. I don't know if we really have a really good tool for going to bad, or figuring out if you're going to a bad web server yet, right? I mean, it'll come up and say that the certification or the cert is bad or out of date or something, but that can be still legitimate, right? I go to, one of my hobbies is I do NASA stuff, and some of the NASA servers are that way, and it's like, you know, and
One for per diems on the GSA webpage.
Uh-huh.
They would always come up with the yellow border that says this site is unsecured. Like, perfect.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So on that, but other than that, I mean, it's, you know, I don't know really any good tool to tell you, oh, you are on this page, don't go there, you know, not yet.
You can do, you're questioning, like, if you have a Windows 10 or Windows 11, there's an optional feature that you can add in, it's called Windows Sandbox. If you've never played with Sandbox, it's very interesting. It's a self-contained version of Windows that can run within Windows, and it's disposable. So you fire it up, like another copy of Windows, you can just add it in through your programs and features thing. And what you can do is you can test links and files in there. As soon as you hit X and close down, it all gets destroyed. Now there's chances are that you could have viruses that can escape the sandbox, but if you're testing, like every once in a while I'll get a rogue link and I look at it real hard and I'm like, is this legit? And I, you know, I spend a couple minutes looking at it. If I really want to test it out, I fire up Windows Sandbox and I just pop it in there and Edge or, you know, load Chrome up in there and try that out. So, something to think about.
Yeah, I have a, I don't know if I can, maybe I'll show it later. I have a Shodan add-on. Shodan, anybody, you know what Shodan.io is? Okay. If you're a hacker, you love that site, right? But Shodan has an add-on where it will help you do with some of that tracking. You go on the web page and it'll tell you how many stuff is on there that they don't like and all that. But I tend not to pay as much attention to it as I should because it's like hundreds and hundreds of things. But yeah, that's about the only thing I found. But what was that? That was a sandbox in.
If you go into programs and features on Windows, Windows 10, you can click on Add Features, and then there's a feature called Windows Sandbox.
Okay, Windows Sandbox feature.
But it's real quick. You got a decent computer and SSD. It boots up in 30 seconds or so.
Okay, that'd be cool.
Yeah, as soon as you click the X in the window, you can drag it around. Sorry, not drag it around. You can copy and paste files. So if you get an executable that sends you or a PDF or something like that, you go, I don't know. You know, this is a suspect, copy and pasted it to the sandbox, and then you can open it up in there, and then when if it goes haywire and starts showing you porn and all that kind of stuff, just hit the X on the window for it and nukes that sandbox.
All righty. So don't forget, I was going to say don't forget your personal stuff at home. I'm one of the bad boys. I got personal stuff on my company PC. Anybody not have personal stuff on your company? Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah. That's good. I got stuff. Anyway, which means I'm using it at home and all that. So if I'm using it at home, it's my company PC, I gotta, be vigilant there. There's just different things you could do. Encrypt is, we have data in motion and data at rest. Data at rest is the data on your hard drive or your thumb drive. Data in motion is going back and forth between you and a server, right? And we tend to do that a lot now. If you go to HTTPS, the S means secure, and so that's encrypted and that. But you still might want the added security of encrypting the data that's on your hard drive, or even in your cloud too. You can do that. In Commander, we have the ability to encrypt data at rest. We just don't do it yet because there's usually a performance hit when you do that, but it's not too terribly bad. And we wanted to improve our performance, but now we've done that. So, and sometimes the performance hit might be 5 to 10% of the access rate that you're trying to get a file in that. So, but that's a good thing. But then when the kind of the problem with encrypting at rest is, who has the keys to decrypt and all that, and if you change cloud services or you change your PC and all that, you got to have the keys in order to get it too. So you got to be careful of that. When you get a ding from Department of Homeland Security, they don't do any emails unless they're encrypted, which is kind of fun, but reminds me of my old defense days. But and there's what is it, PGP? I think it was called, right? And that's kind of old. So there are some free services out there to be able to, you're just encrypting things, and then it's based off of people's email addresses. And if you click on the email address, it'll give you the encryption key for that person, and you encrypt the email and the way it goes, and that. But
I think you probably mentioned when we're talking about email, is if you guys are running your own email domains, something.com or whatever, check your SPF records. So whoever sets up your email servers will need to set the SPF record in order to verify that the domain is the only domain that's allowed to send email. So something that recently happened to my wife with her business, she didn't have the SPF record. I'm the IT guy, of course. So. Having the SPF record set, and it's relatively easy if you're using either Google or Microsoft 365, you just have to set that in your DNS settings. So it's very, very important that then that verifies that your domain is the authorized sender for that stuff, because if it's not set, it's much easier for somebody to spoof the email address. So.
Yep, they're doing all sorts. But let's see, better passwords. Anybody use they call that a vault? Yeah. See, yeah. Any good suggestions for what's your favorite ones?
I like that you were telling me about another one.
Yes, Bitguardian? Yeah. Bitguardian?
Well, Bitguardian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with password vaults, I moved to Bitguardian from LastPass, partly because when LogMeIn bought it, they eliminated the option for the free accounts you had to pick either you use it on mobile or use it on desktop. And that pissed me off because I was a paid account on one and a free on my personal. So I flipped over to Bitguardian. Basically same concept, except for the free accounts you can use it on mobile as well as desktop.
Is that allowing you to share, like with a group?
If you pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you want to use the same password on all your accounts, right? Admin, yeah. yeah, 1, 2, 3, and yeah, 4, yeah. Shoot. No, and that what I really hate though is, you go to different web services and they have different rules, right? And so some of them you can't use some of the special characters I normally use, and some you can, and all that. Well, that makes me, you got to come up with another password and all that, and then you got to put that in your vault and so forth, and you just got to.
Well, you know how you fix that?
Oh.
So you set whatever password you want, you never vault it, you just reset your password every time.
Yeah. Well, I do. That's actually what I do. There's for our industry, there's Infraguard, infraguard.org, or is it .com? I always forget. I think it's .com. So there, if you join that, it's like it's an FBI kind of thing where they keep track of infrastructure, things that are happening, right? So it's good to get into, but but when you get into it, it's an FBI site, so you got to, not be leery of the FBI and all that, but so I always forget my password. So every time I go in there, I have to reset it and all that, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, that sort of defeats the purpose of cybersecurity. Is that you get, that is your email that's the target. You don't just get MFA after that. One, just as a quick aside first, malware analysis that's free if you guys are interested in it. It's called CUCKOO sandbox.org. It's a industry-leading malware analysis tool. So it's free. It's a community sourced.
Okay. CUCOO.
CUCKOO sandbox.org.
CUCOO.
Yeah.
Cuckoo, yeah. Yeah, that guy. It's amazing,
How coincidental. That reminds me too, I don't know why, your debit cards, right? Bad, because as long as you find out the number, then you only need a couple other bits of information, and you can usually call in and change somebody's PIN, and now you've got it, and they're not nearly as diligent, the bank are not. So I don't use debits either, but anyway, back up, the last one I always back up, and that's one of the key things with ransomware. Now you just gotta keep backing things up. That's like your last resort kind of thing, so.
Like it has that 55 cold storage option where it has revision control. So as you localize backups, it's great for meetings that you have cold storage, like Backblaze or something like that, where you can do file revisions and everything. It's nice if you ever get hit with malware that you can go back and cover different revisions.
Some people issue that, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's always after.
No, my wife worked for a company that, they saved all the backups in their office, and their offices were down.
Yeah.
They were an engineering company, so all the drawings, everything was gone, and nobody thought that I would take it when the tapes home. So they lost everything, and everything gone, so.
Yeah, it used to be, the only time I'd back up my stuff is if I thought I was going to get fired and they were going to take my laptop, right? I got to get all my stuff over there. Yeah, that's right, every week, right? Or, I mean, I usually do pretty good on my laptop too, where I keep them for a long time because I really hate setting a new one up and that. So this one's like 5 years old, and the other one I had before that was 7, and this one's still going and that. But that's the other time when you could tell it's starting to give up the ghost. Now I got to hurry up, back up. Anyway, but we should do it more diligently than that. All right, procedures and plans. The IT guys, we're mainly OT. The IT guys really are, they really are our friends. They really know how to, keep things secure, but they don't quite know everything because there's some things that are important to us or that we prioritize that's a little different from what they do. But still, And you certainly don't want IT thinking that you're a hacker kind of guy or get on a list, right? Don't. No rogue devices, no rogue software. That just means you buy something and IT doesn't know about it, and they're not able to put their stuff on it or scan it, maybe even, and that. So in engineering, we tend to do that. We tend to buy stuff that we're only going to work on and all that. But we still tell IT about it, at least that way they know it's there and it's part of the inventory and that. Same thing, especially with software. Maybe we don't do so good with the software. But sometimes, you get some software and that's part of the supply chain problem is you get software from somebody and there's a virus built into it. They don't even know about it, right? But the IT people might have a list that they can check it out and warn you ahead of time. Don't turn off whatever the things are that IT has set up. Now with us, we can't even do that if we wanted to, and that. Try not to bypass. And there's one statistic. I think it's in my other class or session. 96% of people try to think of ways to bypass what IT's doing, right? Because we think it makes life easier in that. Helping enforce ACL, which means access control lists. In other words, don't just give anybody your password. Don't let people that really shouldn't get into the data files that they shouldn't, and that. Try to enforce that. And then you're always thinking about it. What else can you do to help the company in that? Oh yeah, that's the official Spectre. You remember the Spectre thing that was out, 2 years ago? 3 years? I think about 3 years ago. That's the official icon or logo. That was, security, the reason I put that, security is not just all these different things that we've been talking about, but there are security vulnerabilities in the chips as well. And Spectre and, what was the other one? It was the previous one, I think. No. Meltdown, yes, thank you, yeah. Spectre and Meltdown were vulnerabilities in the Intel chips. And the way you could, it was hard to exploit it, but you could exploit it if you knew what you were doing, knew what you were looking for in that. And then one way of helping until they can fix their silicon is there are things that you can add or added into browsers that would help, help with the exploitation against it and that. But that's actually bugs in the chips themselves and that. Fun, fun, fun. Okay. Okay, education. You can never stop brushing your teeth, right? You just got to keep on it. I don't know what that has to do with education. I don't know. But so, like I said, this is one of the few times the federal government really is our friend. They really do have some neat stuff out there, and we talk about that in the cyber plan session tomorrow. And it's free, and they really are working hard because they know, we're all part of the infrastructure and critical infrastructure and that, and they know it's just there's just not nearly enough cyber security people out there. I think in the United States alone, there's more than 1 million jobs that could be, I should say 1 million jobs more than the people that we actually have for cybersecurity and that. So we got to keep going. Got to get along with IT, like I said. I don't know. Let's see. If you want to get along with a software guy, you're usually giving them a case of Mountain Dew. I don't know. Monster. Yes, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, get. Yep. But it also helps with to getting along with IT is to actually be able to speak their language, at least somewhat, right? Because and they'll know that you don't know as much as them necessarily, although there have been some IT places that, no, that's not. It's like, no. Anyway, but I don't think that was with any of the SIs in this room. No, I don't think so. And it wasn't any of you, anyway. But I think if they hear you speaking their language to some extent, then they know at least that you are serious about it, right? And you want to be part of the solution rather than a problem for them. Yep. One thing too, I call it security is not a checkbox. Especially CEOs and that, they think, oh, it's just another thing. We got to do this. We got to have cybersecurity, and we got that. Check it off, and you're done. And it's nothing like that at all. It's a daily, not a grind, but it's a daily effort to keep secure in that. So, which means it takes up people's time and so forth. So, and the C-level people have to understand, it's going to take up some money for that. And then get in the game, that's just making a plan, which we'll start talking about on the session tomorrow. So, all righty. And then, pardon?
Oh, I appreciate it. It's ringtone. It's cool video game sound.
Like I said, if you get the slides, and I've got these links here, then some of them come from, I don't know, what's the word, surprising sources. Like the Federal Trade Commission actually has some good stuff on doing cybersecurity and training and that, and some rules. SANS is another one by awareness, meaning, here's what's out there, here's what's happening, and here's how you get people involved in that, really. Defense in depth, NIST, NIST.gov is, that's kind of like the big repository for this. But there's others as well. You can, and I keep getting surprised every time I check. There's more and more and more. Everybody's really getting involved in that. And then my favorite education is Krebs on security. If you really want to know what's really happening, go to Krebs. You'll read Wall Street Journal and Washington Post and New York Times and blah, blah, blah. And they usually all get it wrong. You go to Krebs and now you know what's there now. But he writes stuff in depth, but you know what's really happening out there. And but some of these, again, are government entities, and they'll really help. So, alrighty. Oh, and then social engineering, and I think that's it. So in the we're going to talk about emerging trends this afternoon with Lewis and EJ and Andy back there, and that's just what they've been up to as far as cybersecurity, and then what they see is coming, of course, and that. And then tomorrow, I think I redo this session, and I have the starting your cyber plan as well. And there we have more. I don't know if I have any more funny images or not. I have to check. I don't know. Anyway, any questions?
Quick suggestion. There's another site if you guys are interested, especially if you're on the road. It's called joesandbox.com. Weird URL, but it's an online malware analysis. So if you have a URL or a file or an attachment, you can use their basic thing. What they do is they spin up a virtual machine. They do automated malware analysis to let you know if it's bad. The thing I like about it is you can just copy the URL on your phone and paste it in on their website and do the analysis right from your phone. So joesandbox.com. Yeah, I've used it quite a bit.
I would also plug Paul's session at 1:45 today, case study.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Hearing it from an end customer's perspective is very interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Don't forget to go to the demo room, right? And go out and eat, of course. So, well, thank you. Take care.